Bell Time by Sophie Tuvey, Chapter 21. We go for a blustery walk, past the shop and a takeaway, and trudge over fields and paths covered in fallen leaves. The air is cold, but I'm wearing my matching bobble hat and scarf. It's one of my favourite times of year. I still can't believe I'm here with Michael. Katie: has he killed you yet? Me: go away. It's getting dark and we make our way slowly back. Now that there's no chance of us seeing anyone we know, we can hold hands, laugh and chatter away, and no one will question it. The knot of anxiety in the pit of my stomach that tightens when I think about work is gradually unravelling. We reach the shop, and just as we're about to go inside, Michael stops and frowns. "What's the matter?" I ask. He points towards a van parked a short way up the street. The driver is reading a newspaper. That van was parked up there before, when we went along this street earlier. The van looks pretty generic, and the driver looks to be in his late 40s, not much hair, and a bored expression. So? Don't you think it's a bit odd? Not really. I managed to steer Michael inside the shop so we can choose food for dinner, and I throw a few packets of biscuits into the mix. Michael offers to pay, so I walk over to the ATM to get some more cash out. I'll let him get this, but I can't let him pay for everything. It's at the front of the store by the window, and there's a guy standing in front of it. He turns around, sensing me waiting there, and it's the van driver. He looks annoyed. "You want to use this?" he asks abruptly, pointing at the machine. "Yes," I say, keeping my tone light. "No rush, take as long as you need." "Easier if you go first," he says gruffly, stepping aside. "Thanks," I say, slightly confused, as I take his position by the machine. I put my card in and decide that it might be a good idea to check my account balance. As I press the buttons and go through the different processes, I can hear the van driver huffing impatiently behind me. Once I've finally got the cash, I step away from the machine to zip up my purse, and already the driver is in my place muttering obscenities. Then I hear "effing slag." I look up, my eyes wide with shock. "Excuse me," I challenge. "Is there a problem?" "Ready to go?" Michael appears carrying the shopping. The van driver is now ignoring me. I shake my head. "What's wrong?" Michael asks. "Tell you later," I sigh. My phone starts to ring. It's Katie. "Hello? You okay?" "Well, I haven't died yet, if that's what you mean." I roll my eyes at Michael, but he's outside on the street looking up at the van again. "Ha ha," Katie replies. "Dad was trying to ring you." I couldn't answer. Katie's not convinced. "Look, I don't want to interrupt your lover's getaway, but I've been talking to him and we both think this incident is a sign." "A sign of what?" I'm out of the shop now and standing on the pavement while people give me funny looks as they walk inside. "That flat is a disaster. Why don't you come home?" Even the word tears at my heart savagely. "I don't want to talk about this right now." "You never want to talk about this, but you can't run away with your boyfriend forever. You need to sort this situation out." Nothing more annoying than a little sister bossing you around. "I am sorting it out," I protest. "I've got a camera installed now." "Why won't you speak to Dad?" "I will," I counter. "When?" "I'll go and see him when I get back." It's a bit of a rash promise, but I don't know what else to say. "Great," Katie says with finality. "I might be able to pop down too." This makes the thought of going home slightly more palatable. "Okay, tell Dad for me, and I'll see you soon." After ending the call, I walk forward to join Michael. "Stop staring at the van," I hiss. "That guy already hates me." "What do you mean?" he asks. "Let's get going and I'll tell you on the way." Needless to say, my recount of the van driver's unnecessary rage at the ATM does nothing to dampen Michael's interest in him. "I should go back there and speak to him," he says, beginning to turn around. "Michael, it's not like telling off year 8. I drag his sleeve to pull him back in the right direction. "Leave it." "How was your sister?" "Fine," I say. I avoid discussing the idea of moving back home because I think Michael will agree with her. In Sylvia's kitchen, where thankfully the dogs are absent, we prepare spaghetti bolognese. As with everything, Michael is meticulous when cooking. He models how I should chop the onion and peppers, then takes charge of the pans with the manner of a sous chef in a Michelin restaurant. I have cooked spag bowl before, I remind him. 30 more seconds and the pasta will be al dente, Michael says, looking at the timer on his phone. I stir the sauce, and when Michael's timer bleeps, he picks up the saucepan of spaghetti to drain it. With the noise of the extractor fan, we don't hear Sylvia come in. Michael is just stepping away from the sink when the dogs run in, barking loudly. Michael stumbles over the smaller one and drops the pan with a clatter. Michael and I watch in horror as the dogs eat our pasta. Sylvia hurries in and shoos the dogs towards the door. So sorry, she apologises, shutting them out and then grabbing a dustbin and brush. Michael is speechless for once, so I tell him to put some more spaghetti on while we clear up the mess. When we finally sat down to eat, I suddenly remember my dad making bolognese for my birthday one year. I shoved the thought to one side. What's your family like? I ask Michael. He smiles. Quite quiet. My parents love books. They're both solicitors. I swallow a gulp of water. Meeting them might be somewhat intimidating. So why did you become a teacher then? He raises his eyebrows and sips his drink. I think it was the most unexpected decision I ever made. I went to the careers fair, fully intending to head to the legal stalls, but I got accosted by the teaching fast-track program guys first. If I was honest with myself, I enjoyed the literature part of my degree more than the law side, so I signed up, and I never looked back. What did your parents say? They were surprised, he grins, but they didn't say much really. They don't tend to tell me what they think. If you became a lawyer, we wouldn't be sitting here together now. I gesture with my fork. Unless you believe in inevitability, Michael says. Perhaps our paths were always meant to cross. He lifts the glass to his lips. Or, what was it you asked when you observed my lesson? Does history repeat itself? I've often wondered why you asked that. I roll my eyes. You never forget anything, do you? I lay my cutlery down. Sometimes, I begin hesitantly, I worry that I'm too much like my mother, that I'm going to turn into her, will make the same mistakes she did. What kind of mistakes? Always thinking that there's something better out there, something I don't have. That's called the human condition. So sorry about Donald. Sylvia blusters in and shuts the door. He's been a really naughty boy today. I catch Michael's eye and choke down laughter, gulping down my water to crush it. Would you like some food, Sylvia? Michael asks, gesturing to the pan. Oh, well, if you don't mind, she smiles. That's very kind of you. Michael serves her a generous helping and pours her some wine. I've noticed he's thoughtful like that. As we sit round the table together, a candle flickering in the centre, it feels like a long time since I've eaten in this kind of setting. Just an ordinary meal, in an ordinary kitchen, but with the comforting company of friends. I consider Dad's missed call again. I will go and see him. Once we finish the meal, we tidy up the kitchen, Michael fixing a problem with Sylvia's dishwasher, to her delight, and then head back out to our cabin. It's well and truly pitch black now, and a tapestry of stars has unfolded in the clear night air. We never see this many in Widlock, too much pollution. Michael and I stop and gaze up at the blinking lights, so far away. In this moment, the silence is so rich, it's like the universe is singing. Want me to grab a blanket? Michael asks. He guides me to a garden chair, then brings out a blanket and drapes it round me. This is magic, I breathe. Is this your tactic with all your girlfriends? Michael laughs. Is it working? He takes my hand. To be honest with you, Jen, I've never had a girlfriend before. I try to scrutinise his face, but the only light is from the windows of the main house. Are you serious? Yes. Why? Different reasons, he says. Tell me. I've always been really busy with studying or work. Relationships seemed like too much effort with not a lot of payoff. You're making a lot of effort now. I clasp his hand. I hope you think it's worth it. I still can't believe you actually like me, he says. Any minute now, I expect you to come to your senses, find a more normal sort of guy like Joseph Vermont. We burst into laughter. Not if he was the last man on earth, I say. I don't know how I'm ever going to look him in the eye again after he saw us today. It's not him who's the problem. It's David. Hey, we said we weren't going to talk about work tonight, I remind him. True, he says, but in the quiet, I can tell he's still thinking about it. It's strange how familiar he's becoming to me already in such a short time. I don't want to go back to how things were before. Just thinking about what's going to happen when we're back in school turns my stomach. I remind myself that we're here to escape. I don't need to think about anything. Back inside the cabin, I find a CD player with a random collection of albums. Retro, Michael comments. I've got an idea to help us relax, I say, dimming the lights. Go and lie on the rug. He rolls his eyes but obeys, his tall body stretching out over the floor. I press play and then lie down next to him. Keyboard synth sounds ring out among the lapping of waves and the crash of the sea. What is this? He asks. Whale music. We lie on our backs as the soothing sounds fill the room. I close my eyes and breathe. Teaching must be one of the few jobs where everyone's holidays are the same, creating an odd bubble of term time franticness, then breaks when everything stops for everyone all at the same time. It's not the only stressful job. I know I'm not the only person who struggles with deadlines and urgent situations. As I lie there on the floor, I picture myself precariously balancing my box of marking and wobbling down the steps. The picture sums up my entire career. Each term, I feel like I'm carrying an impossible weight. I crawl through, struggling just to tread water, aiming to make it to half term. And when it finally arrives, it takes days to unwind from the tension that I've been carrying. One good night's sleep is not enough for me to beat the state of exhaustion my body's in. I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be a workaholic. I don't want this binge work and binge rest kind of lifestyle. I just want normality. Steph and Katie are always telling me that I need better work-life balance, but it always feels so impossible to achieve. Lying here next to Michael, I make a promise to myself. I have to change this. I open my eyes and Michael is propped up on one arm, smiling at me. What? I ask. Just looking at you. You really are a romantic goofball. We giggle. Are you feeling better? He asks. I pause before answering. Do you ever feel like you're on a treadmill, but you don't know how to get off? Are you talking about work? He asks. Are we allowed to talk about work now? For the purpose of this conversation, yes, I clarify. You've had a lot thrown at you this term, he says. And you. It can't have been easy starting at a new school. There are perks that I didn't foresee, he says with a grin. I swat his shoulder. I just feel this heavy exhaustion where I've got a permanent headache and no motivation. I could go to sleep right now for 12 hours straight and it still wouldn't be enough. You'll feel better tomorrow. I hope so, but I don't want to be in this kind of state all the time, do you? He sighs. My dad always told me not to waste time. I should always be productive. I find it hard to sit still, to just be. I watch his changing expression. His eyes darken. I want to know everything he's thinking, every experience he's been through. I want to understand him better. You know when you said about Wuthering Heights being about obsession? He asks. Yeah, I don't know where this is going. Well, I should warn you, I have an addictive personality. What does that mean? Maybe Katie was right and he is a serial killer after all. I love the rush of finishing a task. I always want to do more and more because I thrive on achievement. It's hard for me to lay down any boundaries. Right, so what's this got to do with Wuthering Heights? When Heathcliff finds Kathy, she's the only person he can cling to. He's obsessed with her because he has nowhere else to direct his emotion, and he has no boundaries on his love, even when she marries someone else and even when she's dead. Well, this is an intense conversation. What I'm trying to say, he continues, is that I've never had a girlfriend because I've never met anyone worth the effort. But now I've found you, I'm terrified of losing you. I don't know how to do anything with less than 100% involvement, but it scares me because I live and breathe work and I don't know how all the pieces fit together. We lie there, holding hands, and the whale song fades. It's just the sound of the ocean remaining. We don't need all the answers, Michael, I say. We just need to remember what's really important. When he kisses me, it's like a buzz of exhilaration that makes the satisfaction of work seem like a bad support act to a headlining rock star. There's no comparison. Once the CD is finished, Michael folds down the sofa, then pulls out a spare mattress from underneath. I can go on the floor, I volunteer, grabbing the bed linen. No, Michael says, taking it from me. You should have the bed. In your condition. I'm not pregnant, Michael. No, but... He arranges the duvet. Settling down for the night, I feel this unfamiliar sensation of safety and comfort before I fall asleep. Then I'm jolted awake with an almighty crash at 2 a.m.